Welcome back to the Light of Joy. Today's conversation walks a fine line between empowerment and exhaustion, between striving to grow and never feeling good enough. We're unpacking the hidden toxicity beneath much of the modern self help movement, how something meant to liberate us can quietly imprison us, how the obsession with becoming better can leave us feeling actually broken. Because not all growth is growth, and not all help actually helps. Let's begin with the message at the core of most self help advice. You're not enough, but you can be if you fix yourself. In fact, that sounds motivating on the surface, but repeated enough, it becomes a slow erosion of self worth. Because when you wake up every day believing you must optimize, upgrade, hustle, and heal to be lovable, you stop living from a place of sufficiency and start living like a never ending renovation project. Suddenly, rest feels like laziness, stillness feels like failure, and joy becomes something you earn after you improve, not something you're allowed to feel right now, not something you deserve to feel at this very moment. This is the psychological trap of the growth cult, an identity rooted in perpetual self modification where peace is always just one more improvement away. Let's be honest, self help is no longer just philosophy, it's an industry with books, courses, life coaches, productivity tools, webinars, and influencers, selling you the promise of becoming high value, limitless, the best version of yourself, unlocking your potential. But here's the quiet reality: the industry thrives on your dissatisfaction. If you ever fully accepted yourself, if you ever stopped striving, you'd stop buying. So instead of guiding you to wholeness, much of the content keeps you in a loop. And this is the case for, I would say, 95% of all the content on all major platforms, including YouTube, including Instagram, including TikTok. And then, after getting stuck in that loop, you feel broken. You need to buy a solution, temporarily feel uplifted, but then you crash. Eventually, you blame yourself, and then you repeat the same cycle again. It's not always about healing, it's about retention. Because the longer you feel like a problem, the longer you'll stay a customer. The longer you feel like a problem, the longer you'll stay a customer. Remember that. There's another layer to this: the addiction to becoming. Personal development can give us a high, a sense of progress, a spiritual rush. We journal, we meditate, we cold shower, we visualize, we set goals. All beautiful tools, I know. You know better than I do, until they become compulsions. Because there's a kind of stress that masquerades as growth: the stress of having to be better, the stress of never arriving, where even your healing is measured by output. It is in that space that self help becomes self harm, not through scars and bruises, but through mental fatigue, shame spirals, and burnout masked as enlightenment. We begin to confuse busyness with transformation, and inner peace with productivity. That's why we have so many life coaches out there. That's why we have so many people who talk about the philosophy of life, who talk about self help and self care, and they try to uplift other people. That's why we have millions and billions of motivational speakers. But look at their life. Is it their philosophy that has transformed their life, or your money? I would highly recommend you to watch Cuteness is Not Content, as the link appears upon the page right now to really get what I mean by that. Here's something even more insidious. When the growth cult blends with spirituality, you'll hear phrases like, everything happens for a reason. Low vibrations attract bad outcomes. Don't feel anger, it's negative energy. Just raise your frequency. At first glance, these ideas seem kind, but often they are used to dismiss pain, not heal it, to shame difficult emotions rather than make space for them. After all, we are humans, not robots, and we have a variety of emotions, a vast array of various emotions that we need to accept, not dispose of. This can be called anything, but this is spiritual bypassing. Using feel good language to avoid confronting discomfort, trauma, or injustice. In this version of self help, suffering becomes a personal failure. If you're struggling, it must be because your mindset is wrong. You didn't visualize hard enough. You weren't aligned. It's gaslighting dressed as wisdom. Gaslighting dressed as wisdom. And it teaches you to silence your own humanity. And that's not good. So, what's the alternative? Well, it's not to reject growth, it's to redefine it. Real growth isn't a performance, it's not a spreadsheet of habits. It's quiet, it's messy, and it's unlinear. It's moments of compassion toward yourself in the midst of chaos. True healing isn't becoming a different person. It's remembering who you were before you were told you were broken. So maybe growth isn't about adding more. Maybe it's about letting go of the pressure, the persona, the perfectionism. Because you are not a brand, you are not a project, you're not a product in need of constant upgrades. You're a human being, and sometimes being is enough. This episode is not anti-growth, it's anti-exploitation, because what you are is not a problem to be solved, and who you are doesn't need to be constantly reinvented. You don't need to chase the light. You are already carrying it within you. Thank you for being here, and may you walk forward not with the pressure to become someone else, but with the peace of returning to yourself. Until next time, stay grounded and keep walking in the light of joy.